And we are live. Nobody's here but one like. God, I love YouTube's algorithm. Now we got one person and one like. What's up, 59th? How are you, my friend? Thank you for joining us. Hey, Jesse, how are you? Robert Shizarp, what's going on, buddy? Troy, I know you made it early, brother. Tijuana Border Jumper, how are you? Carl Lai, how are you, buddy? Julie C, Matt C, Kathy Hayes, Puma Pete, Wrecker Girl, David Royale. But I am in the shower, LOL. Well, that is just fucking weird, 59th. As long as you don't drop the soap while you're in the shower, I guess we're all good. Requeb, how are you? Wesley, September. There's Janie. Jane, how are you, dear? Kathy, Ben Sellers, what's going on? Brian Boone, how are you, buddy? Frank Morris. Thank you, Matt C. I appreciate that. Anime 50, how are you? Soap on the rope. Michael, how are you tonight, my friend? I'm Janie. That is great, animes. Great. I got 3 awesome lot lizard stories for you guys tonight. And I've got a stack of experiences. Judith, how are you? I'm glad that you're here with us, Judith. My teeth make me slur a little bit. And welcome to your first live. I appreciate you. There's Simone. How are you? Did you see the thank you I gave you for my new t-shirt? I appreciate it. I'm still waiting for the other 2 things. I don't have any more of those, Tijuana, but I will work on one for next weekend. I promise you. I always get ridiculed for how I say Howie, Yahweh. I don't know. I always get ridiculed. The Australian fucking Bigfoot. White Castle. I wish we had a White Castle. White Castle is like essentially a New York thing, but we don't have one. It's weird. Beastie Boys rap about fucking White Castle, and we don't have one. I want In-N-Out Burger, and I want White Castle right now. Owie. Me neither. Well, no, I've been once when I was little in New York City. The sliders are dank, buddy. I had some Five Guys the other night. Some Five Guys. Oh boy, there ain't nothing better than a Five Guys wiener. No, not too much, Matt. Not too much. Last week was just very strange for me. Yeah, we have Five Guys sliders that you can buy in the box. Five Guys is expensive. It is expensive. I think I got Belle, me, and her boyfriend Five Guys. Belle got a BLT and French fries. I got a junior burger, French fries, and a wiener. And her boyfriend got a junior burger and some French fries, and we each got a drink. And it was like $50. I was like, holy jeez. Well, maybe, just maybe, Robert Sharp, you're not having a good Five Guys. Because Five Guys with their wieners. The book is done, Matt. See, I'm waiting for them to put it out. What's up, Chrissy? How are you? Nicola, what's going on? Long time no see, my friend. How are you? Patrice, how are you? Poppy from Sweden. AB Dark Moon. Celeste. Claire Harris. Hey, Colleen. How are you tonight? I never had no Wayback Burger. Wayback Burger sounds all right. Doyle Thorne, you're not late. You're like right on time. It's not even midnight yet. Dennis Stamp, how are you tonight? I like Whataburger better than, I can't comment on that because I've never had either. What's up, Steve OATD 124? Enormous. How are you, my friend? Mega, I'm doing well. Patrick Sullivan. Turbo Christ. Once again, every time I see that name, I just picture Jesus on a pair of roller skates. That'd be great. I'm going to get a tattoo of that. I'm going to get a tattoo of Jesus with a peace sign on roller skates going like this. Is that blasphemy? No, because I love Jesus. Jesus loves me. Winter Sky, how are you? Truth Quest. Adam Condon, what's going on, buddy? Cat Mom. Michelle Thompson, how are you? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I hear that, Doyle Thorne. I hear that. Dude, I don't care. That's going to be awesome. Whose birthday is it? Night Vision? Still my birthday. Happy birthday, Night Vision. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Night Vision. Happy birthday to you. I sang it really fast so I could get it in. Eli, what's going on? Lydia, how are you? Cop Caller, what's going on? Just turned 50. You got me beat by a year. Well, a year and a couple months. What is it, May? 5 months? A year and 4 months. MJ, Lee Smith, how are you? MJ Bates. Baked Zale. Jen Ray, how are you? Motorboat. Delirium, how are you tonight? Today, my brother and dad's birthday, too. Well, happy birthday to Delirium's brother and dad. I hope you're feeling well tonight, Delirium. Dustin, what's up? No, I didn't watch the Derby. I did not watch the Derby. I wish I did. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, Giants exist. Without a shadow of a doubt. You don't need to push that narrative here. Trust that. Was it good? Was the Derby good? We had the Belmont. We had the Belmont in Saratoga, which is like 20 minutes from my house last year. Was it Belmont? Yeah, Belmont. Steph Davis, how are you? Hi, Strangeness. Right with you, hi, Strangeness. Right with you. Why won't silver rates ever go up like gold? Because there's more silver. Well, I mean, there's a lot of gold. They keep that under wraps, I believe. There's more gold than we know of, than we are told. But there's a lot more silver than there is gold. I think it's essentially gold has more uses, and I mean silver is great. I think people, as a way of investing in anything, silver would be the way to go because you're still going to get an increase and you can buy more of it. But gold, gold definitely. I'm not. I don't know about that all that palladium shit though. I would just stay with gold and silver, but I've often wondered that myself. Like I look at that periodically and I'm like, huh, it's not really gone up too much, has it? I'd like to hear that giant exist. I'd like to hear your experience. 12 ounces of gold. Damn, spaghetti guy. Damn. Hey, Maura, how are you? Yeah, Matt, that's a good one. Silver is smarter. It is. It is. It's a smart investment. I mean, gold is, you can't go wrong with gold. But it's more expensive, you know? Like silver is more of like an everyday, like an everyday person investment, you know? My dad is doing better. Thank you. Thank you very much. He's doing better. The kind of, he forgets things a lot periodically. I think it's, the doctor was talking about how his body had endured so much trauma last year for 7 months. He still, like, my dad still honestly believes, or I don't know, I've asked him, but he still remembers the hallucination he had where he was in the back of an ambulance with Zelensky and a Russian prostitute driving around Albany, New York. Like that's still like a memory for him. I don't know. I don't think I know he knows it's not true, but I think part of his thinking thinks it is. But Anthony Spats, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Wow, thank you. Speaking of silver and gold, I did invest just recently. As you know, Coca-Cola is my favorite collecting item. Me and my dad got some silver Coke bars and a coin, and they had like a half a gram of gold with the Coke logo and trademark on it. I invested in that just because it's Coke. But I mean, I think silver is definitely the way to go. My dad's 75. Janie, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You don't have to do that. Yeah, Big Jim with a Russian prostitute and fucking and Zelensky. That's fantastic. Yeah, I got two of the coins, and I got the 5 gram like bar, 1 gram bar, and the half a gram gold bar. I don't know. I don't know how Liz is. I sent her an email and she hasn't responded to me. She's just keep her in your prayers, please. Cause you know, like I knew something was wrong because I didn't get her message and she responded to me very angrily. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, hey, I'm like, what is going on? And she said, da 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 da, and I'm really sick. And this, and that. And you didn't respond. And I'm like, I didn't get your message. And then I said, I can't believe that, you know, like this is crazy. I'm sorry. And then we talked for a few minutes. And you know, she got a lot on her plate. I mean, It was like 4 years ago she lost her son. And she's just a very strong woman, you know. I just keep her in my prayers, you know. What's up, alligator? XJWFO Faz. What's up? How are you? Alligator, that's fucking crazy. Good for you, buddy. Zilla, how are you? Yeah, Adam, you gotta be careful on that. You gotta be careful with those, Adam, because those are more of a memorabilia thing. My dad was looking at something and he's like, "Oh, I should get these." And they were they were like state bars, and they came in this like fucking display case. And I read it and I was like, "Dad, these are just coated like bars." I'm like, they're, you know, essentially they're cool kind of memorabilia, but it tricks people, you know, because you see 24 karat gold and then like in really fine lettering, plated. And in my own view, if Trump is going to put something out gold, it should be fucking real gold, bro. You know, like, don't let us down, dude. And plus, just give every American fucking citizen one gold piece, Donnie. Come on, Donnie. God damn it. All right. Let's start this night off right. My story, which is actually someone else's experience. K and S were a couple in college of the Atlantic. I wanted to go to the College of the Atlantic. I wanted to go to the College of Atlantic. It's in Mount Desert Island, and it's an amazing school. We used to go there when I was little and just walk around the campus and look at everything. Beautiful, beautiful school. My experience, which is actually someone else's, K and S were a couple in college, the College of the Atlantic, if you want to look it up. This was pre-cell phone. Anyway, they were going to party in the woods. I live in Bar Harbor, Maine, Mount Desert Island. This is the thing we do up here. Maybe you guys do it too. People pick a place in the middle of nowhere, build a giant bonfire, drink, smoke, party until the wee hours. It is summertime. K and S were trying to find a turnoff. They had driven up and down the road multiple times and nothing. As they crested the top of the hill, a full moon broke above the tree line and illuminated the road in front of them. They were taking one final pass on this stretch of road when they saw something come out of the trees ahead of them. It was human shape, but it was crab walking upside down across the road. Kay, who told me the experience, said it was darting like an actual crab. It was pale. When it got to the middle of the road, it got down closer to the road and then stretched out and broke upwards. It stood in front of them for a second. It had yellowish eyes and just body. It did not have any genitalia or anything. It was sort of a human body. And then it ran the rest of the way across the road. They turned around and drove home. When she told me this experience, I had chills. It creeped me out so hardcore, and I had to drive home from work that night on that rural road. Erica Danforth, thank you so much. 5 rings. Are we still ahead? There's no way we're behind now. We were like 7-1 when I freaking stopped listening to the game. Oh, I miss Comic Book Free Day. Dude, I used to, when I collected comics, I loved Comic Free Day. What's up, Amanda Crazy Life? Margie! How are you, Margie? Coker, Candy Wolf, how are you tonight, dear? Rockin' steady rockin' with his cockin' out. Yes, you, Margie. The Braves fucking Dodgers game, rockin' steady. The only game that matters. The only game that matters. Stacy Lockett, how are you tonight? Erica, how are you? Thank you, 3Cat Mom. Brian Mons, thank you so much. I appreciate that, brother. Eunice, how are you? So, College of the Atlantic, beautiful college. And Mount Desert Island's a weird island. Anthony Spatz, it's a weird island because it's essentially connected to the mainland, but it's not really. And there's like 3 major parts to it: Bar Harbor, Southwest Harbor, and Northeast Harbor. And and Bernard, which is a little fishing community where my family has homes. And it's a very strange place. Somme Sound is there. Somme Sound is the deepest sound on the East Coast. And there was a legend of a witch that supposedly lived there. And I had a really strange experience. I've shared it before here, that I lost time. I just gotten out of work. I went home to take a shower. I didn't have a car at the time, and I was walking to this girl's house that I liked. We were going to all meet up and hang out at her house and watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And we were going to smoke and drink and stuff. And so I'm walking down the road, and a walk that would only take me maybe a half an hour to 40 minutes ended up taking like 2.5 hours. And I saw this bright light coming at me. I thought it was a car, but I don't remember the light passing me, and I don't remember anything after. I just remember showing up at the girl's house, and everybody kind of, the night was over essentially. And I was like, what the fuck? So weird island. Jim Baker, what's going on? How are you? Zilla, thank you so much. Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Dude, thank you. Wow. That is amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's a weird island, and it's just Maine is a beautiful place, but it's weird. It's a weird state all in all. Like, you've got East Coast like fishermen, and then you've got fucking lumberjacks. You've got a bunch of hippies. It's a great state. Dogman, human eat world out there. Oh shit. Mindy Weeks, how are you? A booger wolf? That to me sounds like I'm guessing you heard it on a YouTube channel or some, I don't know. A booger is a Sasquatch. So it's probably like an older hillbilly guy that just referred to it as like a booger wolf, which would be a dogman. That's what I'm guessing. You know what I mean? I don't know where you heard the term from, but in 30 years of my life, I've never heard it. And essentially, I would gather that would be it. Just a dogman. Yeah. Like Tim Coonbo Baker refers to all Bigfoot as boogers. So add booger dog or booger wolf. Eli, thank you so much. I've heard him called wood booger, but as in Bigfoot. Call it BS if you want, But this really happened. None of this is false or made up. In mid 2020, I was jogging on one of my favorite trails, no location given, an 8-mile long hiking and mountain biking trail. I was around 3/4 of the way finished when I kept getting this weird feeling to look behind me. But after checking, there was nothing. I was coming around a long corner with thick brush and a stream on the edge of the trail when I decided to look back one more time. Once again, nothing until I faced forward again and almost stepped on a 2-foot long snake sprawled across the trail. At the last moment, I dodged to the side, narrowly missing its head, and kept running. I do not like to harm anything. I just don't. 2 minutes later, I'm maybe 5 minutes away from the end of the trail when I hear a woman shout, "Behind you!" My soul nearly left my body because I checked so many times and there was nobody behind me. Then suddenly a woman appears. I let her pass and I noticed that she was attractive. I couldn't help but watch her run ahead. She also had a weight vest on, as I did, but then I noticed something that gave me serious chills. Her shorts were not shorts at all. At first glance, they appeared to be tight snake print jogging shorts, but as I stared, it looked more and more like snake skin from her waist down to the bottom of her butt. I mean, it was her skin, no shorts. She hit the end of the trail before I did. She went into an old white car, sat on the trunk staring at me as I walked to my truck. If I was not freaked out, I would have said hi to her or whatever, but it was just too much for once. So I left in a hurry. Did this woman manifest from that snake? I truly believe she did. I've only been back one time since then, and it's difficult to focus on running because I feel like something is out there. It is a very ominous feeling. Guys, we hit 97,000 this week. We hit 97,000. Can you believe that? Anushka, thank you. I'm glad that you're here with us. I couldn't have done it without you guys, so 5 rings. So Margie, everyone, thank you so much. Technically, we are only 2,905 subscribers away from getting that YouTube play button. Hopefully we get it. Hopefully. I never thought it was never any kind of thing that I wanted. You know what I mean? Like Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. It was never an aspiration to achieve. It was never like something I never thought that possible. You know what I mean? So it's truly an amazing thing for me. Dogman, right here. My sighting happened in the early 80s. I was 13 years old, sunny fall afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Haven Woods, which is on a military base. Back then, you could get into the woods. There was a BMX track out there. Myself and my best friend went out there looking for our friends. My bike had a flat tire, so we walked out there. As we got closer to the track, we could hear our friends. When we got to it, everyone was gone, so we started to walk back the way we came. As we walked, you could hear something walking with us in the woods. We yelled out, "Who is there?" to no answer, so we continued walking. Now it was in front of us walking on the trail, but we see nothing. We yell again, "Who's out there?" No answer, kept walking. Now on the other side of us, you could hear and sense something walking with us, but invisible to the eye. Now I am afraid at this point. We turn back around and start walking back toward the track. Again, in front of us, this direction, same thing. I'm really frightened. I knew the railroad tracks were to the left, so I said to my buddy, "Let's go to the tracks and get the hell out of here." I turn, and 10 feet from me is standing on its hind legs next to a creature I have never seen, standing somewhere between 8 to 9 feet, very dark, well-built wolf. It's staring at us with its mouth open, like I'm prey. I am frozen. I thought. I screamed, but nothing came out. It felt like minutes, but was only seconds. We were completely frozen. This thing looked through my soul. I could not move. I finally regained some bit of composure, and we ran like the wind to the business outside of the woods, hammering on the glass door, which was locked. It was a Sunday afternoon, and they were closed, ran like the wind home through a creek. I told my mom, but she told me that I had seen a dog or someone trying to scare us. The thing is, in every direction we turned, it was walking with us unseen until it wanted to be seen. It was a sunny afternoon. I believe in the supernatural ever since. I've been in those woods plenty of times after that, never seen it again. Granted, it took me years to go back out there. Back in the day, there was a prisoner of war camp there, 1940s, and a missile site in the 50s and 60s. I know there are a lot of tunnels out there, but the government filled and flooded them, so I guess there would be plenty of places for this thing to live underground. Anyone else in the area have an experience like mine? This thing was invisible, tracking us until it wanted to be seen. I feel lucky to be alive. Thank you for allowing me to share. Oh, it did look like the werewolf on American Werewolf in London. Yeah, he's definitely... Ermic! What's up, buddy? Andrea, how are you? Amanda Crazy Life Channel. Chico, California in the house. I'm from Chico. That's so crazy. I am in Chico right now. No, I'm just fucking with you. Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be so funny. Such a knee slapper. Norwalk, Connecticut. What time is it? Is it time for a lot lizard story? Bang, what's up with my boy? How are you tonight, Bang? Lot lizard story? All I need is 2 yeses. 2 yeses and you got it. That's it. We got it. All right, here we go. Thanks, you drunk cat. Oh, I appreciate that, Analog. Thank you. All right, here we go. Earl, a man whose physique resembled a deflated bouncy castle, adjusted his trucker hat and sighed. Another all-night haul in frozen broccoli from Boise to Buffalo. His stomach rumbled, a low growl that echoed the loneliness of the endless highway. He pulled into the dusty spur, a beacon of neon and questionable hygiene in a desolate landscape. He needed caffeine, a greasy burger, and maybe, just a maybe, a little bit of company. He ambled into the diner. The aroma of burnt coffee and desperation was thick in the air. His eyes scanned the room, landing on a woman perched on a stool. James Moses, thank you. Her back to him. She wore a leopard print dress that looked like it had lost a fight with a cheese grater. And her hair, a tangled mess of peroxide blonde, defied gravity. A name tag proclaimed her Kim. He approached cautiously. Evening, Kim, he mumbled, his voice gravelly rumbling. Kim turned and Earl almost choked on his own spit. Her face was unsettling. One eye was drooped. The other seemed to swivel independently. Her smile revealed more gum than teeth, and a disconcerting number of chins rippled beneath her jawline. Still, Earl was lonely, and broccoli wasn't getting any warmer. Well, howdy there, sugar, Kim purred, her voice laced with a southern drawl thicker than molasses. Name's Kim Harry Gashigan. What can I do for you? Earl, momentarily speechless, stammered, just looking for some conversation. Kim Harry Gashigan winked, an action that caused her drooping eye to twitch alarmingly. Conversation ain't all I specialize in, darling. He followed her to a dilapidated trailer behind the truck stop, the air thick with the scent of stale ciggies and something vaguely fishy. He tried to ignore the rustling noises coming from the brush, attributing that to be raccoons. He really wanted to attribute it to raccoons. Inside the trailer, Kim dimmed the single flickering bulb. The room was sparsely furnished, with a stained mattress, a broken TV, and a collection of porcelain dolls that stared with an unnerving intensity. Again, Kim Harry Gashigan leaned in. Her breath smelled faintly of Limburger and regret. Earl noticed something odd. Her nose seemed to be subtly shifting shape. One moment it was a bulbous and red, the next it was sharp and hooked. He blinked. Maybe the broccoli fumes were getting to him. Then her hand brushed his, and he recoiled. Her fingers were long and knobby, ending with claws that looked suspiciously like they belonged to a velociraptor. Panic boomed in his chest. This was not a bad date. This was something else. Suddenly, a booming voice shattered the unsettling silence. Kim, you lay one hairy finger on Earl, you'll be wearing a leopard print as a gag. The door burst open and Lizzo, a woman whose generous proportions radiated both authority and a surprising degree of athleticism, strolled in. She wore a bedazzled jumpsuit, and in her hand she wielded a rubber donkey wiener. A very large rubber donkey wiener. Kim Harry Gashigan hissed, a sound that seemed to vibrate the very foundations of the trailer. Lizzo, you meddling sow! This is my territory. Lizzo, unfazed, twirled the rubber appendage. Not anymore, Kim. I know what you are. You ain't fooling nobody with that cheap perfume and those dollar store eyelashes. You're a stinking shapeshifter with a hankering for truck driver meat. Kim's face contorted, features melting and reforming into something truly horrifying. Her skin turned a sickly green. Her eyes glowed a malevolent yellow. She lunged at Earl, her claws extended. Get behind me, Earl, Lizzo commanded. And Earl, more terrified than he'd ever been in his life, obeyed. Lizzo charged, bellowing a war cry that sounded suspiciously like a Lizzo song. She swung that rubber donkey wiener with surprising force, connecting squarely in Kim's jaw. The shapeshifter shrieked a sound that made Earl's teeth ache. She stumbled back, clutching her face, and Lizzo pursued, wielding that rubber weapon with a relentless fury. This is for all the lonely truckers you tricked, you slimy succubus, Lizzo roared, landing another blow. And this is for giving truck stops a bad name. Finally, with a final pathetic wail, Kim Harry Gashigan dissolved into a puddle of foul-smelling goo. The stench was so overpowering that Earl almost passed out. Lizzo, panting slightly, surveyed the scene. Well, that's sorted, she said, wiping her brow. Earl, still shaking, could only stammer. What was that thing? A shapeshifter, Lizzo explained. They're attracted to the loneliness of the open road. They're like prey on truckers. They like to prey on truckers, thinking they're easy targets. But not on my watch. She winked. I keep this little fella handy for just such occasions, and she patted that rubber donkey wiener affectionately. It's surprisingly effective against shape-shifting evil. Earl, overwhelmed with gratitude, could only offer a thank you. Thank you, Lizzo. You saved my life. Lizzo shrugged, just doing my civic duty. Now, how about you buy me a burger? You look like you could use it. As they walked back into the diner, Earl couldn't help but feel a strange mix of relief and disbelief. He'd almost been eaten by a shape-shifting prostitute. And he had been saved by a queen-size lot lizard wheeling a rubber donkey wiener. Life on the road, he realized, was never going to be boring. And maybe, just maybe, he'd stick to frozen broccoli from now on. He knew one thing for sure, though. He was buying Lizzo the biggest, greasiest burger on the menu. She deserved it. You like that one, my friends? The fuck? Thank you, Omega. No, that's cool though. Lane Stanley's a badass singer. I'm actually gonna save that one. That one was fucking good. I really outdid myself on that one. Thank you, Aramic. I appreciate you, brother. What's up, Nick Hendricks? I will in a moment. Brian Mons. Trust that. I got to name that song for you in a second. Actually, we'll do it now. All right. Name this song. Because 20 bucks is a 20 bucks. Any guesses? Any guesses? It was Queen. It was Queen. Kathy Hayes. Yes. Dana got it. Dana and Kathy both will split the reward of good job. We Are the Champions by Queen. I know you got it, Enormous. Thank you, Carla. Wilburn! Wilburn! What the fuck are you doing? What's up, Clint? How are you, buddy? I'm fighting off sleep. I've never heard that. I'm going to have to hear that later, Spaghetti. Wilburn! Where's Susan from Jersey? I'm Susan from Jersey. Dude, Guar has a Lot Lizard song out. Holy shit. The band Guar, I cannot fucking play it, but I wish I could. Guar, the greatest fucking crazy goofy band ever out of Antarctica, has, well, they're not out of Antarctica, they're from outer space, but has a song called Lot Lizard. And oh my God, it is great. Thanks, SDL. Oh my God, Aramic, it is, dude, so good. So good. Andy Davis, what's going on, buddy? There we go. Clint, thank you, buddy. When Belle turns 18, Brian Mons, when Belle turns 18, I promise. I can't do any traveling until then. Night, Robert Sharp. I hope you have a good night, buddy. Ween had a song about selling. I vaguely remember that Ween song. Clint, thank you, buddy. I vaguely remember that. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Escondido, California. March 28th, 2018 at around 3:30 a.m. I had sleep paralysis and could not move and was frozen. I started to get quiet, and I live next to a freeway. The windows are always open, so it's always loud. I am curious on how they always seem to find me. The last house was a nightmare. It's been very quiet here for about a year. There is a sound that is hard to explain. My ears popped. There is a small sonic boom and a crackle with it, followed by, I guess the only way to put it is, hearing a ringing of deafening proportion. They must seem to have been around all day. You know when they are because they glimmer, they sparkle like a flash of light. I was seeing them all that morning walking around the property. You can call me crazy all you want, but when you have been dealing with this like I have been since I was a child, you start to recognize certain glitches in the system, so to speak. There is a static in the air. It's draining and I cannot move. Everything is going dark. It's as if you dimmed the night more, if that is even possible to imagine. I can feel myself slipping away. I'm feeling like something or someone has put some sleep sedative into my drink. Full force sleep paralysis. They use this tactic all the time. Most cannot handle it, so they give in or get stuck in the in-between stage, as I like to call it, where you are completely frozen but still aware of your surroundings. The buzzing is starting to fade, but the feeling is this time is so strong and angry, it's building. The rage, fight or flight is kicking in. Overwhelming sense of awareness is hovering over me. Short sparkles, followed by a huge shadow, start to appear. I can finally start to see, but getting dizzy, eyes are starting to focus on what it is that I'm seeing. Then there it is. As I look up out of the bed, I see a tall, red, slender-toned body, very fleshy looking, reptilian looking around the head, but also very normal depiction of what a gray alien would look like. Humanoid body, 5 fingers, but they were very long, followed by the last 2 being shorter. 8 feet tall easily, black eyes. Strangest thing, I'm not scared, but more worried about the look on its face when it realized I could see it. It stood there for whatever is what it felt like. Then it raised its hand and pointed at me. I started to feel so weak and tired. It walked over to me, and every step it made, I fell back slower and lower on the bed until it was directly on top of me. Its hand still outward stretched at my head. I was now looking straight up at it, red face with giant black eyes staring down at me. The jawline and cheeks so defined, very humanoid, but the brow line is what gets me. Everything is very emotionalist with it. Very facial expression it made is very aware of me noticing it. I don't think it expected I was going to see it. It did something to me. Whatever it does when it first appears is how it felt at that moment. This thing fought to put me down. You could see it in its face. Strange part is there was no fear, more like comfort as a friend. You could count on being there for you in a situation. Very calm situation. Trust me, I know this sounds ridiculous, but for the first time in a long time, my eyes are wide open. And what's the number? 33. It always has to do with 33. They always come or give signs at 33 on the clock, no matter time or day. But they love to come at 3:30 or 1:33 in the morning. What did I miss? What song did Wilburn say? I missed Wilburn. Good night, Celeste. Yeah, definitely demonic. Definitely Aramic. 33. I never really thought about that. 3:30 is 33. That's pretty creepy. Clint, thank you, buddy. From 1970, Wilburn, Werewolves of London. Oh, yeah, that is a good song. Who did that song? Werewolves of London. Warren Zevon. Oh, yeah. Nice. Someone should do another, like a copy of that, like a cover. Someone should do a copy of that. The cover. That's why I have that, Zilla. Clint, you wouldn't know what to do with her. Are there any? Not tonight, Nicole, but yeah, I have quite a bit of Alaskan experiences. It's my grandfather's Masonic coin. Depeche Mode did a cover of it, Spaghetti Guy. Thank you, Wilburn. Wilburn! I didn't know Depeche Mode did a cover of that. That's sick. If Depeche Mode did a cover, then the Deftones should do a cover. Deftones are fucking great. Depeche Mode is great. Dude, I think one of the best covers Deftones ever did was the Cure song. No, maybe. It's on the Cure it's on the Cure tribute. If Only Tonight. Aramek, thank you so much, buddy. Now I gotta find your story. God dang it. Where is it? All right. I've got another Mothman encounter for you, Aramek, but this one is for you. Recently, I think I may have encountered a cryptid of some sort, and I have dubbed it the giant Canadian spider bat because of its spider-like mouth and bat-like appearance, also because it sounds cool. I'd like to tell you about my encounter. This happened a week or so ago. I don't know exactly what time it was, but it was dark. I live on a farm. I was walking home after putting our farm animals to bed when I passed an old, practically fallen down barn that is on our property. It is in bad condition. It nearly collapsed on my mom once. I glanced at the barn as I neared it and witnessed a huge, bulky, winged thing duck away into the barn incredibly fast. It seemed to me like it cowered away when I looked at it, like it did not want to be caught watching. It was huge, seemingly too big to fit through the large open window at the front of the barn where it appeared to be perched. Its eyes were tiny and glistening white. Once I saw the thing, I ran as fast as I could to my house. I felt a sensation that made me feel like something was rushing toward me incredibly, but never reaching. That's the only way I can explain it. I still don't like going outside on my own when it is dark, and that barn freaks me out. Once in a while, I will hear noises from seemingly within. It sounds like somebody settling down on a wooden pile of planks over and over. It could be an echo from elsewhere on the property, but I do not know. I also feel like it may have just been in my mind playing tricks on me, but it seemed too unnaturally fast. I feel like the barn is watching me whenever I pass. I don't know how the gift membership works, Andrea. It just like randomly when someone buys the membership, it gets picked. And Melissa Stock, thank you. I think it doesn't matter if you're on your phone or not. I'm not really sure. To be honest with you. I did a crawler story earlier, Clint. I'll have one out in a minute. Run back! Thank you, brother. All right. This one, I really like that, he says. Fucking Aramik. Aramik's the member gifted motherfucker. Aramik, thank you. Thank you. All right. This one I really like. I've read this once before a long time ago, and it's probably my favorite experience, one of my favorites. We live in northern Arizona in a rural area on the edge of several thousand acres of grassland that locally we call the prairie. The prairie is very open with scattered small pines and juniper brush, and around the edge of the prairie is dense ponderosa pine forest. My husband and I live right next door to my mom. She is 81 years old and does not get around that well. I work from home, and I have a small office upstairs at her house so that I'm around to help during the day. This was back in January of 2023. It was the 23rd at around 5:45 p.m. I was in my office, my mom downstairs in her comfy chair, which faces out to a great view of the prairie. I was working on my computer, and suddenly I heard her hollering for me. I'm in a very alarmed tone. I ran downstairs thinking that either my dog was throwing up on the carpet or something was on fire. It was somewhere in that range of urgency. Let me add right here that she is very level-headed and not overly excitable, and 100% in her right mind and as sharp as a tack. And she can also see pretty damn well for 81. When I got to her, she was looking out at the prairie and said she saw something very weird. Later, she said it was the weirdest thing she has ever seen in her life. While she is describing it, I grabbed a pair of binoculars and looked to where she was pointing. She said that her very first impression was that it was a horse, but then she immediately realized that it wasn't. She said it reminded her of a horse wearing a cape or a giant bat, and that it was nothing she had ever seen before. It was tall, running upright on two legs, coming straight at her, very black in color, and had something flapping all around the upper part of it, like a cape fluttering or wings. She said that although she didn't know what it was, she knew she really didn't like it and really didn't want it to get to her house. I could tell both at the time when she talked about it over the next several days that it definitely did rattle her quite a bit. Again, though, she is not prone to being nervous, and she does not share my interest in strange and unusual things. She said that she had looked up and spotted this thing coming her way, but then as she watched, it appeared to crouch down and disappear next to a bush. The terrain on the prairie just rolls just a little, so that would be possible without it actually vanishing into thin air. As we are watching the area around the bush, my husband comes in. We told him what it was, what we were up to, and he was watching as well. When we saw the thing again, just for a few seconds, it moved from where we were watching away to the right, where it then disappeared again. My husband says that what he saw could have been two ravens fighting. What I saw was very dark in color, and my first impression was something like a man running, but all hunched over, or maybe something like the back end of a bear. What my mom saw, and she didn't tell me this until weeks later, was an unnaturally tall and very skinny black dog. The light was still quite good at this point, and my husband went to get our little drone to fly over the prairie to see what it was. I went to the upstairs window with the binoculars to see what I could see at a higher vantage point. Neither of us saw anything. Now, we do have black bear in the area, but I have never in 20 years seen one out in the prairie in daylight. Not impossible, but not likely, and even less likely that neither of us would have seen it moving across the prairie. Next day, we went out to look at the spot where we had seen it, which was about 300 yards from my mom's window. The ground was wet and muddy, but we found no tracks, although we were leaving very ominous footprints. Obvious footprints, sorry. I went and stood next to the bush where my mom saw it crouch down. Then I called her to ask her to look and compare my height to what she had seen. She said it was 1.5 to 2 times taller than me. I'm 5'4", making it 8 to 10.5 feet tall. No wonder why she was freaked out. If it was a bear, it was running very well on its hind legs and waving a cape over its head for good measure. I had also asked my mom if it could have possibly been an elk with a trash bag stuck on its antlers, and she said no, absolutely not. All super weird, but here's the part of the experience that I really had to think about later. A couple of hours before all of this happened, I had been out on the prairie with our dog for our daily walk. She roams around, digs holes, occasionally chases a rabbit, but almost never barks. That afternoon, though, she started barking like crazy at something, hackles up, staring off in the distance. And at one point, she came running back to me with her tail tucked, which is very unlike her. I couldn't see any reason for that at all, but it creeped me out just because it creeped me out just a little because I had just then been thinking about a recent experience I had heard about a dogman. Specifically, I was thinking about the idea of dogmen guarding portals and also what I would do if I ever saw one. So I started thinking about, we aren't that far from Sedona. Did we have a portal drift up our way? A neighbor that we know well had a pretty interesting UFO experience over the prairie in the summer before. Maybe we do have a full-time portal. Who knows? I don't know about portals traveling. I think portals are just there. I don't think they fucking, I'm going to go here today. I'm going to go there. I think they're there and they just open periodically. That's just my own thing. What's up, Nick? Or summoned, yeah, absolutely. Finished 11 hours on my day replacing power steering rack, high pressure lines, sleep bars.
Damn, Wilburn. That Forerunner is going to be harsh. Yeah. I never thought that, portals move. It's kind of, to me, that's a dumb thing to even imagine. Like, they're there. I think they are stationary. They're an entranceway. Why would they move? My theory, my own idea, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that if people think they move, they're dumb. I just don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, I think if there's not a portal there and it is summoned, like Aramek said, or, something wherever underneath or in the opposite dimension opens it, I don't know. I'm probably fucking wrong. There we go. Forerunners are awesome. I saw my dream car, though, this week. I saw my dream car. No one will ever guess what my dream car is. How long will you be on for? I'm not sure, Nexus. For longer than now. Maybe an hour and a half. Dream car, Toyota Civic. You got it, Aramek. Starlet is nice. Ooh, that's nice. No, it's actually... Okay, so I saw two really awesome cars that I would love to have if I ever became a millionaire. But, and this is going to sound completely dumb. My dream car is the original crossover. It's the AMC Eagle SX4. I fucking love them. There's something about them that is just so strange and beautiful. And then I saw a right-hand drive 1999 Subaru Legacy 3.4. The SX4 is such a great car. The Eagle SX4, dude, they were all-wheel drive, Puma Pete. They were all-wheel drive. No, four-wheel drive. Yes, four-wheel drive. It depends on how I feel, Nexus. Dude, I would just, like Metro, the three-banger, Stag. Yeah, buddy. I mean, of course, there's other cars that I'd like to have. You know what I mean? But, night, Andy. Yes, I did have the Typhoon. My friend had a Cyclone, spaghetti guy. In high school, his dad bought him a fucking Cyclone. In high school. Can you imagine that? I don't drive a Mini Cooper. I have a Subaru Forester. I have a Wilderness Edition, though. I love it. Justies were great. Oh, my God. Justies? Damn. I would love to have a Brat, Puma Pete. A Brat with the original seats in the back. I've been to Florida before, Clint. I lived there for a little bit. Night, Margie. Thank you for hanging out with us. Anyone remember the thing? The Volkswagen. Yes, the Volkswagen. Subarus are great little cars. I love Subarus.
I've had four Foresters my entire life. My dad has a 2002 LL Bean Outback, and the thing still runs great. And he loves that car. Thank you, Clint. Yeah, Mad Max's car is sick, buddy. But they kind of did like they did like it was like an edition, like LL or the Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer edition, Arabic. But LL Bean, it was like an LL Bean edition. Oh shit, Nexus. Damn. Clint, thank you so much, buddy. So this is what happened to me this week. My daughter goes to the gym every night. She goes to Planet Fitness because she's homeschooled, and that's like her PE. So I drop her off at 8:00 at night, and I'll work here on something, and she'll call me, right? And she'll be like, "Hey, come get me." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right there." So I'm working, and she calls, and I'm like in the middle of something. And I lose track of time. I lose 5 minutes of time. I'm like, and then I realize, oh shit, I gotta get Belle. I get up and I start, my cheapy little flip flops are out right outside my door. I throw them on really quick, and I start to kind of go real quick. At the top of our stairs is this metal rung, and I'm walking and it stops me dead in my tracks. I have no idea. Like, it stopped me. And I went head first down the stairs, my feet, like stairs, me, feet, head. I hit my head and shoulder on like the 6th or 7th stair, flipped, my feet touched the ceiling, and then I dropped on my back, and I'm like, dunk. Oh shit. And I'm like, oh man, gotta get Belle. Not like time loss like that, bro. Thank you, Clint. Appreciate that. Dude, it hurt so bad. Flip-flops are evil. You're absolutely right, JCM. Especially cheap little flip-flops. You know what I mean? Like, these were just like cheap little fucking flip-flops that I wear outside to water my bonsai tree. And like, I fucking biffed it hard. Clint! Thank you, buddy. I'm good now. This is how weird it was, though. Yesterday, the day, I lost track of time and didn't realize that I drove to my parents' house, and I don't even remember driving to my parents' house the day after. It was so weird. Dodgers won? Nice, buddy. Nice. Money. I'm 54-year-old husband, father, and granddad who has served in the Navy straight out of high school for a few years. This all took place on one of the longest mountain ranges there is in central Pennsylvania. There is a mountain ridge called Bald Eagle Ridge. Clint, thank you so much, brother. That runs southwest to northeast and runs for about 60 miles. It's the last mountain ridge before hitting the Appalachia Plateau to the west. It is a very beautiful part of the state of Pennsylvania. There are very few homes. Most of the population of the state lives in the valleys and not at all the top of the mountain, so our mountains are very secluded. So the eastern part of the state has small pockets of outlying areas that are populated, and the rest of the state is mainly mountains and forests with no human population. About 10 years ago, my wife and I, along with my 25-year-old son and our 2 grandchildren and one of their friends, all went for a walk at a reservoir that supplies all the drinking water for this area in central PA. The reservoir is set back about a mile from the road, Route 150, and that is an area for walking and hiking. But back then, it wasn't used by many people at all. It was formed from damming the creek that runs down through the valley. The small lake that was formed is beautiful and abundant with fish and surrounded by the usual wildlife. Before having 2 strokes in the last 2 years, I was an avid hunter and fisherman and taught my children and grandchildren to get out and enjoy what nature has to give us. So, with that being said, my son and I are both armed, as we are always to protect us from any animals that may have any bad intentions. We started out a little later than we planned, but things were going great so far. We walked for about a mile or 2 up into the mountains, and we were on our way back about 3/4 of a mile from the truck. And by this time, it's about 9 p.m. and dark. Everyone had a flashlight. We always take them for the reasons like this. And we were here before at the same time with nothing to be concerned about. So it was business as usual. We're all carrying on and enjoying the outdoors and the walk. I want to make it clear now that I got a very uneasy feeling for no reason. I wish I could explain it, but I cannot. I know that doesn't make sense, but I just had a very weird feeling. Then I heard what sounded like heavy footsteps faintly, but I could hear them over the sounds of my family that they were making. In front of me on the trail, it sounded like something big was walking above us, straddling the side of the hill to our left, a very steep hill. My son was in the lead, followed by the 3 kids, my wife, and then myself, bringing up the rear. My son stopped, and the rest of us stopped. He said, "Listen, Dad, do you hear that?" I was already listening hard, and again, I could hear what sounded like someone or something walking to our left on the steep mountainous side of the trail. I am not going to lie. I was startled. After gathering my senses, I shrugged it off as a deer or some other animal. I told my son to keep moving, but he, myself, and the rest of the group were now focused on what was following us on this upper part of the trail. We were all moving forward and not panicked, just focused. Just then I heard what sounded like a large branch being broken from a green tree. My son and the rest of the family heard it as well. Then it sounded like the tree or a large boulder was thrown, and it was very loud. I have heard trees falling over from the wind in the woods while hunting, and that's not what the noise was. There was no wind that night, and it was very still, and the woods were silent up until that point. Then we all heard what sounded like a very heavy person running. This all happened 40 or so yards up this steep hillside to our left. We all started walking fast to get back to the truck. All of the flashlights were focused on the side of the hill, but we could see nothing except trees. The rest of the walk was uneventful, but the whole way back to the vehicle, everyone was on edge, and our senses were on high alert. I don't know what made those noises that night. I have been in the woods long enough to know what the sounds are, and what we all heard that night was a deliberately made noise. If I had to make a guess, I would say something ripped a tree from the ground and threw it. That's what it sounded like to me. The rest of the way back to the truck was definitely uneventful. We saw no eye shine and heard nothing else. Thank you. Anybody see any good movies this week? Joshua, how are you? Aloha. Tiffany Cooper, how are you? San Fran, what's up, buddy? Orphan Andy. Mert, what's up, Mert?
Anyone see any good movies this week? Nothing good? From? Huh, I'm going to have to check that out. Werewolves. I just saw Until Dawn. Until Dawn. It was pretty interesting. I'll have to check it out. I will check that out, Zilla. Blacklist is good, yeah. Until Dawn was a really interesting movie. It was it reminded me of like it was set in like I guess it's a video game, like one of those horror video games. But it was set in like Appalachia or Centralia. It reminded me of Centralia because it was set like in this mining town that just disappeared, you know? And there was like these weird experiments going on. It was fucked up. It was scary. It was actually scary. I screamed fuck out loud at the movie theater. And then a big guy with a beard, this big like monster hillbilly, screamed fuck as well. So I did not feel bad. Jimmy, how are you, buddy? Definitely a crazy experience. You're right. Thank you. It did leave it. You're right, Clint. It did. I'm doing well, Tiffany. I'm doing well. From where, Andrea? Accountant 2? I'm not big on movies like that. Jimmy Ruger! Turbo Christ. Raising Arizona is a great movie. Wait, Jordan Peele produced another movie? Like, is it like his other movies? Like they, them, or whatever? Him? Will Vern, I know. Yeah, he did. He wiped out the Dogman. I've actually had him on the channel a second time. Very nice guy. I'm waiting for the Bob Lazar new movie. I'll have to wait and check that out. Sean, welcome to the channel. I'm glad that you're here with us, my friend. The Right? Maybe. I'm not sure. It sounds familiar, but it doesn't. Sinners looks good. I got to check out the Him trailer, though. Ugh. Actually, I'm going to check it out right now real quick. Ooh, dude, that does look good. That does look good. Shway, ferry up, yo! Larry Lindman, holy shit, buddy! Bears huff and pop their jaws as a warning. And I think Dogman do the same thing. That is where the bone popping. You know what? I have to agree. That is Lindman. That is probably one of the greatest explanations. And I was talking about that popping. I think I was talking about it when I was hiking. I was talking about that popping sound. And I think you're right. It would be like their jaw, like that pop. Because if it was popping, like their bones fucking, it would make no sense, you know? I agree. That's an amazing one. Yeah, I've talked to Robert about that, Nicole. He and I have discussed that extensively. He was just here. You just missed him. And it's not like their joints popping and muscles ripping. Herman, thank you so much, buddy. Holy shit. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. All right. How about this one? Lyndon, that was awesome. I like your idea. I have to agree with you. That was probably the best one so far. Best theory on the popping. Nicole, I just answered that. I said he was just here. He was just here. And I said I've talked to him about that. My daughter likes Dexter. Rascal is a Dogman that was raised by a guy named Robert Sharp. A friend and I were fishing in the evening, friendly bass tournament, 7/2/1992 from 3 to 9 at Smith and Sales Reservoir in Smithfield, Rhode Island. The fishing picked up as the tournament ended, so I convinced my friend to go back out for some night bite. Somewhere around 11 p.m., we were fishing at the end of the peninsula facing the shore with a dark, empty house on the land. It was very quiet, but I thought a helicopter was coming down in the cove behind the house where we couldn't see it, but no noise. I gestured to a friend, but when the lights dimmed, we excused it as vehicle lights. Must have come down the road and backed away, but we had never seen a vehicle. We continued fishing towards the shore in plain view of the house when I noticed what looked like children playing with flashlights moving frantically in one of the rooms of the house through the window. My fishing partner and I decided people must have come home to the house, even though we did not see a car or people, and the power must be off in the house. We continued fishing, although we had never seen or heard anyone. There was an abnormally 7-foot tall humanoid-shaped figure with the small children human-shaped figure. The larger one looked like it was holding a flashlight looking for frogs and such at the water's edge. The odd thing was the way they were illuminated, almost like they were glow in the dark. We dismissed that as the flashlight reflecting off the water and back at them, strangely. Just then, we noticed about 15 to 20 glowing shaped figures all on the shore facing us, all different sizes. We got freaked out because there was never any noise this whole time, and we were close enough to have heard people walking in the brush near the shore. Just as we were getting scared and contemplating leaving, the flashlight the first big human figure was holding shined directly toward our boat. My partner said, "Start the motor and let's get the hell out of here." As I started to set the choke and pull the cord of the small 5-horsepower outboard motor, the flashlight levitated across the 30 to 40 yards of water
as I was keeping half an eye on it and starting the motor. When I turned it over and put it in gear, I looked up and the light was about 8 feet above our small boat. I never looked back, and it was a short 3-minute ride back to the boat ramp. We hurried, throwing the boat in the van, got inside the van all shook. The dogs on the lake were barking loudly. We had never heard dogs bark like this on that lake before. My friend made me promise not to tell anyone, and I have not until now. She was a bear. Yep. Sully, what's up, buddy? Thank you, Wilburn. Thank you, buddy. I know she's here. She's gone now. Love you, bud. Can you remind me, please, when the live? Every Saturday at midnight. Every Saturday at midnight. Justin Merritt. Let me see if I got it, buddy. I'll send it to you after the live, okay, bud? Sometimes I think it is I think the chat does slow down a little bit, you know what I mean? Nicole, none of your beeswax. Yes, I usually share a pterodactyl or pterosaur story once every live, to be honest. No, I did not, Sonia. I check my email probably 6 times a day, Clint, to be honest with you. I'll try, Nexus. I will try. I'm exhausted, though. Try to send it tonight while we're on the live so I can check and let me know when you did. And if I don't see it, remind me, okay? Time is it? You know what? It's been an hour. It's been an hour since we did a lot lizard story. How about another lot lizard story? Are you guys in the mood for another one? What's up, Wiley? Zilla, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you. Jeez, I'm crow. What's on your gift and rock? Too much, Orphan Andy. Wiley! I don't use Facebook Messenger, Kathy. I don't use Facebook at all. I have one, but I don't use it. The government watches it. That's why why do people use Facebook when they tell us that they've used? I have not used Facebook Messenger or Facebook in a very, very long time. Periodically, I may to just send me an email. You have better luck with an email. Let's see, Sonia. Yes, now I just got it. I just got it, Sonia. You're not the first person that said that night. But are you a teacher? Because that's irritating, to be honest with you.
Taos. I know. Aramic is a fucking legend. Linman, Aramic, Zilla are all fucking legends tonight. I know, I'm kidding. You would not believe how many people. It's fucking nuts, though. Like, I'm like, wow. Like, I say people in different parts of the country speak differently. Boondock. But Taos. Yes, I know. I'll probably always call it Teos, though. Just because. And I'll do it now thinking of you, Sonia. Next upload that I do in New Mexico and I talk about Taos, I'm going to put, just listen to it. I will subliminally put it in. I'll be like, Teos, Sonia. Just, I fucking promise you that. Watch. Teos, Sonia, teacher. I won't, Clint. I won't. Delirium, I just got yours too. All right, here we go. Earl, a man whose beard rivaled a tumbleweed in both size and texture, adjusted his trucker hat, the brim casting a shadow over his weary eyes. After 15 hours of hauling frozen peas across 3 states, he wanted a hot shower, a greasy burger, and maybe, just maybe, a little company. Lucky for Earl, he was pulling into the Rusty Bucket truck stop, home to arguably the best coffee this side of the Mississippi, and more importantly, the legendary Lizzo, the Lizard Queen. Lizzo is definitely not your average lot lizard. Sure, she wore enough glitter to blind a disco ball, and her leopard print leggings were threatening to burst at the seam. But she had a heart of gold, plated, probably, but gold nonetheless, and a sense of humor drier than the Sahara. Plus, she could haggle a fuel surcharge right out of stone. Earl found Lizzo perched on a milk crate outside the diner, painting her fingernails a shade of lime green that screamed toxic waste. Evening, Lizzo, Earl drawled, his voice rough from the road. Hear you're the queen of this truck stop here. Lizzo did not look up. Honey, I am this truck stop, or at least I keep it running. What can I do for you, Earl? Pee emergency? Earl chuckled, the sound rumbling in his chest. Just looking for a little relaxation. Lizzo finally glanced up, a mischievous glint in her eye. Well, Earl, you've come to the right place, but tonight things are a little different. Before Earl could ask what she meant, the fluorescent lights on the truck stop flickered and died, plunging the lot into an eerie darkness. A collective groan rippled through the assembled truckers. Generator must be acting up again, somebody grumbled. Then the sky lit up with an unearthly green glow, and a low guttural hum filled the air. Every dog within 5-mile radius started to howl. Okay, Lizzo said, her voice unusually subdued. That's new. A spaceship shaped suspiciously like a hemorrhoid descended from the clouds and hovered above the truck stop. A ramp extended, and 3 fingers clad in shimmering, skin-tight silver suits emerged. 3 figures. They were short, squat, and possessed an unsettling number of tentacles where their noses should have been. These were not your friendly neighborhood space tourists. One of the aliens, presumably the leader, pointed a spindly figure at the gathered truckers. A voice garbled with synthesized sound boomed from a speaker on the ship. Greetings, Earthlings. We are Zerponians from the planet Sorass. We have come seeking butthole contact. A stunted silence fell over the truck stop. Earl's jaw dropped. Lizzo stared with eyes wide, her lime green nails momentarily forgotten. Did they just say? Earl stammered. Yep, Lizzo confirmed, her voice barely a whisper. Butthole contact. These got to be the butthole touching aliens they warned us about at trucker school. Panic erupted. Truckers scrambled for cover behind their rigs, some clutching wrenches as weapons. A few brave souls, fueled by caffeine and desperation, charged toward the aliens, only to be repelled by some kind of shimmering force field. Lizzo, however, remained calm. A sly grin spread across her face. All right, Zerponian, she yelled, stepping forward. I'm Lizzo, the Lizard Queen. What's the deal? The Zerponian leader waddled closer. We have traveled across galaxies seeking the pinnacle of earthly butthole sensation. We believe your establishment holds the key. Lizzo crossed her arms. So you're saying what exactly? We require probing and possibly a little spanking. Earl, watching from behind his rig, nearly choked on his own spit. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Lizzo, ever the entrepreneur, sized up the situation. Well, probing and spanking ain't free, space boys. It's gonna cost you. And I only accept intergalactic credit or good old American money. Negotiations began. Lizzo, surprisingly adept at alien economics, managed to secure a hefty sum of intergalactic credits in exchange for a demonstration. She selected a volunteer, a large, burly trucker named Bubba, who, after a moment of a terrified hesitation, agreed. What followed was a bizarre spectacle. Bubba looked utterly mortified. Stood as the Zerponians, with their tentacled noses and silvery suits, conducted their research. The details are best left to the imagination. But suffice to say, there were squeals, strange noises, and a hell of a lot of glitter. After what felt like an eternity, the Zerponians declared themselves satisfied. They thanked Lizzo, loaded Bubba, who was suspiciously cheerful at this point, onto their ship and blasted off into the night, leaving behind a bewildered truck stop and a faint smell of antiseptic. The lights flickered back on, the generator spurred to life, the dog stopped howling. Earl emerged from the rig, shaking his head. I don't even know what I just saw, he muttered. Lizzo, covered in glitter and still holding a wad of intergalactic credits, winked at him. Just another Tuesday night at the Rusty Bucket, Earl. Now, about that relaxation. Earl looked at Lizzo, then at the retreating spaceship, then back at Lizzo. He decided he definitely needed a shower now and a burger, and maybe, just maybe, he'd stick to pee hauling for a while. Some things, he realized, are just too weird, even for a trucker. As for Lizzo, she knew she was a great negotiator, and even a better lot lizard. And while being probed by aliens wasn't the most ideal experience for Bubba, business was business. Michelle, thank you so much. How'd you like that one? Good, good, good. I think the first one was better, though. Well, you got to have glitter with a lot lizard. Thank you, Delirium. Thumbs down. Wow.
Clint. Damn. What's up, Amy Nexus? Amy Nexus? Mr. What's up, buddy? Just a little bit of coca. This is how you actually spell his name. It's Mr. There we go. Mr. It's not that much, is it? Mexican Coke 4-pack bottle is $8. I didn't pay $8 for. I got 2 cases of it. Malachi the Nutcracker, the Boogie Woogie Body Snatcher. Yeah, it's probably expensive there, huh? In most of those water reservoirs and natural springs are in Mexico, to be honest with you. There's what's up, Bateman? There is a Mexican or a Coke plant in Mexico where the fucking people that live there drink more Coca-Cola than water because Coke uses all their water. They're assholes. But I love Coke, so I don't give a shit. It was a good burp, wasn't it, Tiffany? It was a good one. There we go. That's a better. Mert, I need, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I go and make a cup of coffee and I get a Coke. And then I walk Tigger downstairs because he won't go downstairs in the morning without me walking him downstairs because he's a fraidy cat. Give him some treats and then come up and finish my Coke and coffee. I got a black-eyed kid story for you. I drink tons of Coke too, Mr. I fucking love Coke, buddy. My name is Allie, and I am from Birmingham, United Kingdom. It was April of 2017, and it had been raining pretty heavily for a few days, so there had not been any children playing outside. However, on my way back home from work, it must have been around 6:30 to 7 p.m., I saw 2 kids playing in the rain. I thought nothing of it since I did that as a child. It always rains in the United Kingdom, so we just learn to adjust to it sometimes. A few hours later, I was leaving my house to go to the gym, as I do most evenings, and these 2 kids are still playing in the same exact spot. I thought maybe their parents told them not to move too far away from the house, which did make sense. So I just carried on my way. I'm returning home from the gym, and now it's close to 9:35 p.m. exactly, and these kids are still there. Only this time they acknowledged that I had seen them, and the younger of the 2 approached me and simply asked if I would let them in because it was raining and their parents weren't home. I was going to let them in until I saw their eyes. They were completely black, the entire eye, black as coal. The brother began to approach. It looked as though he was older. The younger sibling was defiant and definitely in charge. She asked again, this time with more anger in her tone. Just let us in. I stood frozen in fear. So I said, let me get you some help. And then I turned away and sprinted to my house, locked the door, and ran to the windows upstairs. I could see the kids still there. Now, this is where shit gets weird. I took out my phone and thought, let me take a Snapchat of this and warn others. As soon as I took a picture, they both looked up at the window like they knew what I was doing, and my phone was at 65% battery at the time, just died. I plugged the charger in and nothing. It wouldn't turn on. It was dead. I looked back out the window and the kids were gone. Next day, I went knocking on doors of my neighbors, and none of them had kids except one couple who only had one child, 6 months old. I definitely believe I had an encounter with something else. Not cool. Not cool. I'm curious if we No, I don't. I have a guard cat, Clint. I have a guard cat. But the building that I live in, is very safe. It used to be, and my snakes. The building that I live in is, I promise, Clint, give me 1 second. The building that I live in, so I don't need a dog because first we have 2 cats. We have Bell's cat, Apollo Creed, and we have Tigger and 3 snakes. But where I live, downstairs used to be a dentist's office. So obviously he had lots of like drugs down there and shit. So all the doors are like secured. Like it's getting in here would be like Fort Knox. And if somebody got in the downstairs, they'd have to get upstairs, which has a door that locks too. And then if they got inside, they'd meet the business end of the firearm. So out their window, Clint, out their window, which their house is closer to the cemetery. But you're right. Westchester. Cali. Westchester, New York. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's Hudson River Valley, right? You're like, I think Westchester's like what, like an hour and a half from the city? Yeah. It's definitely a creepy area down there. 100%. 2 hours. Yeah. Yep. Frostbite. That's a cool name for a cat, Wesley. Yeah, you should go there, Wolf. If you want, you should go to where Old Stinker. Old Stinker, United Kingdom. Where? At the Bromston Drain in Hall. Bromston Drain Hall. Go there. Thank you, Callie. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a ton. I think I'm going to go back up to where Tom Mezek disappeared this week. Walter Hobbs. That's a cool name, too. All right. This one is for Clint. I got to find it, though. Dogman. Snakebite Cryptid. Here we go. Here we go, Clint. I got one for you, buddy. I think this is a crawler one, bud. I really do. Several years ago, I had an experience. I have been speaking of this more and more, but reconciling took some time. It would have been like March 2014. I am an interior scaper, which means I take care of plants in offices and estates. At the time, I had a contract to maintain the plant material in an executive office at a major electronics firm in Plano, Texas. Because I maintained the plants for the highest level employees, I would do my work in the middle of the night by escort by security personnel. I had a contract to do this work for them for a few years. Once a week, I would leave my house where I live in the country setting and travel about 45 minutes to Plano to do the work. On this particular morning, it was about 2:30 a.m. I'd loaded my van with my work materials and started out on a very cold, unpleasant morning. It had been raining and the wind was blowing. I had my windshield wipers on because the wind was blowing water off the trees, though it wasn't raining at the moment. I turned on the residential street to make my way out and onto the main roads. As I approached the first stop sign, my headlights illuminated this being. This is how I first describe it. First, I must comment that I was immediately struck by a terrible fear. I believe my neck hairs stood on end, and I realized later that I had popped out in complete sweat. Damn it. I never sweat, and it was cold, but my shirt had a huge armpit ring at the time. I reached the toll road, so I instantly knew that I was seeing something very out of the ordinary. I would say this being was about 5 feet tall. It crossed the road on the cross street in front of me. I had probably 10 or so seconds as my van approached the stop sign, and I had my foot on the brake pedal already when I saw it. I was traveling slowly anyway. It was ghostly white or glossy white. It was the same glossy white from head to feet. It did not turn its head to look at me, so I did not know what its eyes looked like. It moved very strange in fashion. It didn't seem to have any bend at the knee area, and shuffled rather than walked. The arms were very long, much longer than a person. They hung down past where its knees would be, and also there was no bend where his elbows would be. I believe the hands were large. The head was not very big, nothing like you'd see in the pictures of those grays. Nothing was threatening in its manner, but I was terrified nonetheless. I must say it took every ounce of courage for me to turn my head to the left in the direction it had gone when I came to a stop sign. There was nothing there. I floored it and got the hell out of there. Nothing strange or unusual happened on the rest of the trip, although I was very scared, and nothing has happened all the time since then. I wish I knew that there would be no consequences to seeing it, and I could have saved myself a lot of anxiety. I would love to see it again, if I could for sure see it again with no consequences. And I could look at it from behind an army of people who probably believe me or be deluded or a liar. Obviously, I have no idea what it was except to say that it was not human. I guess it could be an alien from space or a creature from another dimension. Seeing it had a big effect on me, I have never been in the least bit afraid outside at night. I breed and raise horses, and I have spent many, many nights out in the barn by myself waiting for a mare to foal. But I was very nervous outside after that. I also began dread going to that account. It was eons before I could go by that stop sign without feeling fear. I have had some unusual experiences in my life, but nothing like this. I don't know what to make of this experience other than to acknowledge that there is much more to this world than we know. I come from a well-educated family of engineers and economists, and they would have preferred no family member of theirs to experience something like this. Never going back to Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I've lived in the area for most of my life. North of me is Lake Leelanau, a place where I have camped and fished for many years. I know the lake very well. I've been there hundreds of times. In June of 2015, my wife and I took our RV to Leelanau Pines for the week. This campground is on the lower west side of the lake. James Moses, thank you very much, my friend. On the last day of our trip, I was heading back to the boat launch after an hour or so on the lake when I noticed something sticking out of the water. It was about 300 feet from shore. It looked like a long, thick piece of black rubber until it suddenly dove back into the water. I caught the motor and sat and watched. A few minutes later, I noticed surface movement about 50 feet from me. It looked like a very thick black snake. It shimmered in the sunlight as it skirted across the water. The head was broad like a viper, but maybe 10 to 12 inches wide. The best that I could tell, its body was 8 to 10 feet long. It didn't seem to have any appendages. The body tapered to a lizard-like tail. I watched it for about 20 seconds until it plunged back into the depths. The head looked like that of a pit viper, but it was definitely not a snake. The body at its widest point had to have been about 2 feet across, with a slight ridge running down the back. I thought that it was a very large turtle at first, but as I watched, I soon realized that it was something entirely different. A little bit of research. There is a water monster in Lake Leelanau. A boy fishing, this is in 1910. A boy fishing for a perch one day in 1910 in the shallows of Lake Leelanau in Leelanau County. The lake had been dammed in the late 1800s to provide water power for a local mill and to enable logging. The dam also flooded much surrounding area, turning it into swamps and bogs punctuated by dead standing trees. On that particular day, William Guthrie rowed out to a new fishing spot near town of Lake Leelanau, looking for a good perch habitat. He paddled up close to a tree that he estimated to stand about 5 feet tall above the water with a 6-inch trunk. He was in about 7 feet of water, and after deciding this would be a good place to stop and cast a line, began tying the boat to the tree. That's when young William discovered the tree had eyes. They were staring him dead in the face for about 4 feet above water. The boy and this serpent-like creature exchanged a long gaze. Then the creature went blob into the water. Guthrie later said the creature's head passed one end of the boat while the tail was still at the other end, though it moved very quickly through the water. Guthrie also admitted having been thoroughly frightened by this encounter, and that the event caused him to stay off that lake for many years. William came from a prominent area family and was very well educated, and that he knew others who had admitted privately, but not publicly, that they too had seen this creature. No sightings have been reported in recent times, but who knows how many other people have seen this creature at the Lake Leelanau. That would be horrifying. Imagine like you go to tie your boat and and there's a fucking face looking at you. Fuck you, buddy. I'm thinking of a good song. No one's ever going to get this. Think Faith No More. Think Faith No More. Any guesses? Faith No More. Underwater Love. Wesley September got it after I said it, though. Just kidding, Wesley. Is there a video of Jeff's personal experience? All right, Matthew, I will tell you my experience really quick. Yes, the song after the real thing. All right, so I'm sorry, but for all those who have heard my experience, I'm going to share it again. And I apologize. Corinna Glover, my fucking horn playing is awesome. Awesome. Zilla, thank you so much. All right. So, 1994. There's 5 of us. I'm with my friend Martin, his girlfriend, my girlfriend, and our friend Gabe. Me and Martin can't drive. The girls can't either because we're all under 18. We're all 17 at the time. Our friend Gabe is older than us by 1 year, so he can drive after 9. And we're hanging out. Martin's girlfriend, lived in a cul-de-sac right above the cul-de-sac that we were going to hang out in. Her cul-de-sac had already been there, brand new homes, beautiful homes. So we're not too far from her house where she lived. We're about a quarter of a mile. So then we pull into this U-shaped cul-de-sac area, and the houses are on the inside of the road. And there's like 6 of them, all different stages of being built. The one closest to the road as we're pulling in is almost built, and then it just goes as you go in. The road is paved, and there's one of those old kind of orange street lamps in the middle. So we park, and we get out. We're hanging out. We're not drinking. We're not smoking any weed. We're just chilling, smoking ciggies. And we're listening to the greatest New York City hardcore band ever, Biohazard, and just hanging out. Just literally just fucking chilling out. The girls were like doing something on the ground. They were like sitting Indian style on the ground. Me and Martin are just acting like idiots, slam dancing into each other. And then there's this, Gabe is sitting in his car with the door open. We hear this, like, I can't explain the sound. It did sound like a woman kind of shrieking, but something way worse. And there was bass to it, like bass to the vibration of its vocal range or whatever. And the girls instantly like jumped up and they're like, vampire. I have no idea why. We were watching Dazed and Confused earlier in the day. We weren't watching any vampire movies. They jump in the car. They're in the back seat like instantly. I'm standing out of the car. Martin's standing like by the passenger side door, and I'm standing on the passenger front light looking into the woods, and I can see eye shine, and they're at different heights. So they're running bipedally and quadruped because they're tall and short. But what was weird, and I don't know why I thought this, but I'm like, how are they moving so fast? First, I'm like, what is it? And how is it moving so fast through those woods? Because behind the houses was all natural debris from them clear cutting and cleaning out this area. They just pushed it into the tree line. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm baffled. Like I'm literally like staring at these whitish yellowed color eyes. They're more white than yellow. They're like this weird white color. Martin grabs my arm. He's from Czechoslovakia. And he's like, Jeff, get in the car, bitch. So I'm like, it kind of snapped me out of it. And we jump in the car. And Gabe slams the door. Music's off. And he takes off. So we get to the other end of the cul-de-sac, the stop sign. And we are looking north to go into where we live. Saratoga is south, Lake George is north. So we turn and go north. We book it. But here's the weird thing. We got to go back towards the girl's house to drop her off. We end up driving and we end up going back, dropping them off. Nothing is there. Nothing is there. That this fucking creature, as we're standing at the stop sign, we all look and it's standing right there as we're pulling out. It's like, it didn't look like your typical Dogman that people say look like fucking, what's that, Underworld. It didn't look like that. It was very tall. It had very tall ears. Some people, when I describe it, say Anubis, but the more I think about it, it did not look like Anubis. It looked unnatural. It didn't look like it belonged on this planet. It was just so fucking weird looking. It was very tall, very strong looking, and a shorter muzzle, but a definite defined muzzle with tall ears. Just staring down at us. It didn't make any like movement. So we pulled out and left. We drive by, it's not there. We get back, drop them off. We get dropped off, and Martin lived next to a church. His dad used to take care of a church, and we got dropped off and went into the church and hung out for a little bit talking about what the fuck was that, da-da-da-da-da. Gabe went home. The next day, we get up, and we head back, me and Martin. We got his dad's truck. We pull into the cul-de-sac, and we get out, and we're looking at the last place that we had been. And I'm looking along the like sand, because it's all scrub pine up here. And you don't get into like deciduous trees until you're higher up a little bit, but it's mainly scrub here. So we're looking at the sand, and I'm looking for tracks. And we hear, what the fuck are you fucking assholes doing? We're getting yelled at. The foreman of the place comes over and he's like yelling at us. And there had been people were stealing wood from, because we went through a housing boom at this point in time up here. So we're looking for his dog. We lost his dog last night and we can't find him. And he goes, oh, okay. All right. He's like, that's crazy. Last night, when? And we said, like 9:00. He goes, last night when we were closing up for the night and we were bundling everything up, we heard a bunch of dogs out in the back in the woods. Sounded like they were fighting. And me and Martin looked at each other like, holy shit. We couldn't have been dogs in that cul-de-sac, which was down the road, because there was like 6 houses, and the people that lived there were like, there was no, like, in those 6 houses, there would not been enough dogs to make that noise. So we leave. Now, the weird part of all this is years go by, and Gabe, our friend who was driving, never talked to us after this. He blamed me and Martin for the experience, which was so dumb, because he thought we were Satanists, and because we listened to metal. But he did too. He's such a fucking poser. Like, dude, don't be a fucking dick rider
and fucking say we're Satanists because we listen to metal when you do too. So I run into him 20 years later and I'm like, hey, what's up? Da da da. We're talking. And I'm like, hey, what do you remember that night? And he's like, yeah, I remember that night. I'll never forget it. He goes, I blamed you and Martin. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, because you guys listen to metal and you know, you were into all that shit and you talked weird. And I'm like, dude, we were just fucking kids, you know? And he's like, well, the weirdest part about that night was before the noises that came out of the woods, before the girls jumped in the car, he's like, I'm playing with the radio. He goes, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And he goes, I saw two of those things and they were walking quadruped across the road to get to the woods, which would essentially be behind Gabe's car. So it was like these two were behind us and then these were in front of us. So we would have been trapped. So now I'm like, what would have happened if they didn't make that noise and we didn't get scared? What if they just silently fucking killed us all? And that's my experience. I've gone back. I've brought the camera back there and stuff, and it was pretty interesting. Ginger, what's up, buddy? No, he said they were big. They were like tall, but he never really said like how big they were. So I'm assuming they were pretty decent in size. Martin is like really messed up. His son died a couple of years ago and he's really bad into drugs and shit. So probably not. Thanks, Robin. Just from hiking. Was this new metal? No, man. It was 1994. New metal was not a thing. Biohazard is hardcore. I said the best New York state hardcore band ever. Did you not hear it? The good. I don't. Is there a fucking new metal Biohazard? Oh yeah, they did. That's right. When he was on Oz. That's right. That's right. You're right. No, this was Punishment and fucking yeah. No, we just listened to like it was weird because like I remember Gabe being freaked out because the first Brujeria album had the fucking cartel with the head chopped off, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Dude, they're not fucking cartel members, bro. It's fucking Nino from Fear Factory. You fucking dick stick." I don't know. People I hung out with were idiots. This is pretty interesting. This dream was recounted to me by my 5-year-old daughter, and it scares the hell out of me. So a 5-year-old should not have a dream like this. Should not have a dream like this. This dream was recounted to me by my 5-year-old daughter, and it scares the hell out of me because it sounds possibly like reptilians and abduction. I read a lot about these things online, but I've totally protected her from hearing about them.
She has never heard about reptilians or abduction. Then she tells me this dream, and it terrifies me. She had this dream while she was spending the weekend at her grandparents' house when her dad and I were out of town. I got this dream out of her with lots of questions, but it's in her own words as much as possible, with her nicknames for her grandparents removed to protect their privacy. She states, in the dream, I was in a big family bed in our bedroom, but it was in my grandparents' house. And from the bed, I saw something zoom on the shelf, and then it was on the bed. It was like a gecko monster. It was bigger than Daddy on the shelf. It was on 2 feet and then on the bed. It was crawling towards me on its hands and feet. It had scales and big sharp teeth. It was green. It had a huge face. Its ears were like elf ears. It had huge yellow eyes with slit-like pupils. It made a grumpy face. It had a tail that was all the way to this bike, 0.6 feet away. It was wearing a kind of ripped up gray suit. Then it picked me up and threw me over its sticky back. It walked on 2 feet toward the door, carrying me on its back. To open the front door, it used its long fingernail in the lock, and the scariest part was it made a big jump to the roof. And then there was a big shine, a big flash. And after the flash, I was at my grandparents' house in the guest bedroom. And then there was another big flash, and I woke up with the alarm clock in my grandmother's bed where I went to bed the evening prior. That was the only dream I'd ever had about this big lizard, Mom. What 5-year-old describes something like that? Holy shit, right? What's up, Jimmy? Jimmy! Dude, it's like, I mean, we know as children, yeah, exactly, definitely real. It was not a dream. What's up, Sean? How are you, buddy? We know as children, like, we know if you think about, like, and it's hard because we're older now, but I had always, like, Belle, my daughter, she always would talk about what monsters look like, and they were always hairy and fucking scary. And I never talked to her about Dogman or Bigfoot, and it was before the channel, you know. And as children, we instinctively know what is dangerous. So for this little girl, a sticky like back and like a flash after it jumped on the roof. Jimmy, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. That's crazy. That is crazy. Older. Damn. I mean, if you think, I think as children, we all see shit. You know what I mean? Like we all, because our eyes are open. Jimmy, what do you think? You worked with the Warrens. So Mr. Haunted, for those of you guys who don't know, if you guys have seen the Conjuring movies, Mr. Haunted is the real Chinese guy in those movies, except he's not Chinese. And he always got the babes. But Jimmy, Mr. Haunted, what do you think? Like, do you think as children we are aware of these creatures because our eyes are open? Did they ever say anything about that? I mean, I already believe that 100%, but what's your opinion on that? Neil, how are you? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are definitely closer. And I think, and here's another thing. So So I had this happen. Exactly. So when we are kids, we are closer to that other side because we are fresh. But I think when we do acid or hallucinogens, we open those doorways. You know what I mean? And I remember a time tripping that me and my friend saw like this thing running with us in the woods. But I remember another time when we were tripping at a hunting camp and there was like apple trees all around us. And me and my friend Mikey, he's dead now, he died of an aneurysm. We're standing outside and we're tripping balls and we're just staring into the woods. And I swear to God, like there was something in those woods looking at us. It was weird. Jimmy, Mr. Haunted. Because I can't see. If you guys ever want to buy, I used to love acid too, Mr. 2 books by Jimmy, Mr. Haunted, Penito, The Origins of Mr. Haunted, and Phantom Messages. All available on Amazon. 2 great books that you can see some of his pictures that he used to take in the cemeteries and stuff. Hang on, I'm gonna put them in. I'm gonna put them in the thing for you guys right now. Hang on, sorry. So you guys can check these books out. All right, so Mr. Haunted Origins and Phantom Messages. All right, so if you guys ever want to check out Jimmy's books, there's his 2 books, Mr. Haunted Origins and Phantom Messages. I honestly, he will send you a bookmark and some sticker swag. Jimmy's got stickers up the swag ass. Like he's sticker boy. Mert, you were tripping a month ago? Dude, I haven't tripped since 2000. I actually brought in the new year or the new world millennium in 2000. Thank you, Mr. Haunted. I appreciate you, brother. I love you. Aramic, this one is for you. This one goes out to Aramic, my brother from another mother. Back in late summer or early fall of 1971, I was newly married and living in Killeen, Texas with my husband, who was in the United States Army. We had a small duplex apartment in Killeen. One night, he had duty, and I was home alone in bed at 3 a.m. I woke up suddenly and saw a black figure standing at the bottom of my bed. It was 8 or 9 feet tall and had huge black wings and red eyes. I closed my eyes and opened them again, and it had moved closer to me on the right side of my bed. I could not scream. I was frozen in fear. I covered my head in the blankets. I was so afraid. 5 minutes later, I looked and it was gone. It gave me a horrible feeling, and I prayed never to see it again. Shortly after this event, I came back to Maine as I was way too frightened to ever stay alone at night when he was on duty. I told my mom that I saw this huge black angel at night, and she was glad I came home, as it did not sound good. I'd never heard of the mothman, but a few years later, I came across an article in a drawing of one. Even before I read the article, I said, wow, that it looks exactly like what I saw in Texas. It did not have a noticeable neck, and its face was hooded, its wings tucked on its side, but you could tell they were very large. It was totally black, except for the eyes were round, large, and red. The apartment I lived in had a entranceway that always gave me the creeps. Just a flat rock covering. It had a well with a flat rock covering above it. This probably had nothing to do with it, but it always felt strange anyway. Oh, hang on. Gotta adjust. No more sticky balls. No more sticky balls. Okay. We are 2 hours and 30 minutes in, and I have got another lot lizard story for you guys. Are you ready for a lot lizard story? Now, for those of you new to the channel and new to the live, the lot lizard is the most scariest cryptid known to man. I have powder on this evening. I do have power. I have powder. I have powder on the old nutskis tonight. But they still sweat. It's just big old big balls like AC/DC. All right. The flickering fluorescent lights of the Last Chance gas and grub truck stop buzzed like an agitated wasp, casting a sickly yellow pale over everything. Lizzo, a woman whose curves resembled a topographical map of the Appalachian Mountains, leaned against the rusty hood of an old Peterbilt, puffing on a menthol cigarette. Her neon pink spandex shorts and leopard print top were a beacon in the desolate landscape, promising a brief respite from the long haul. Lizzo wasn't her real name, of course. Her real name was Mildred, a name as forgettable as yesterday's stale coffee. But Lizzo was a brand whispered about in CB trucker radios from coast to coast. A brand synonymous with, well, let's just say cargo that wasn't listed on the manifest. Business was slow tonight. Crickets chirped a mournful tune punctuated only by the occasional roar of an 18-wheeler thundering down the highway. Lizzo sighed, flicked the ash onto the cracked asphalt. Maybe she should have taken Mama Joni up on that offer and moved to Atlanta truck stop. More competition, sure, but at least there was actual humans around. Here in the middle of nowhere, she sometimes felt like she was the last inhabitant of this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Suddenly, the air grew thick and heavy. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights intensified, morphing into a high-pitched whine that made Lizzo's teeth ache. She looked up, expecting a storm, but the sky was clear, a vast expanse of inky black peppered with indifferent stars. Then she saw it. Silhouetted against the light of the gibbous moon, a shape emerged. It was vaguely humanoid, but impossibly elongated, like a stick figure drawn by a child with a particularly morbid imagination. It had wide, leathery wings that flapped with a disconcerting silence, and two glowing red eyes that burned into her like laser pointers. Lizzo, a woman who had seen things most people only read about in dime store novels, felt a genuine surge of terror. This wasn't a trucker pulling a prank. This wasn't some meth-fueled hallucination. This was something else, something wrong. Her first instinct was to run, but her legs, usually so adept at navigating the treacherous terrain of truck cabs, were frozen. She stood there, mouth agape, staring at it approaching. A flying humanoid, as she later dubbed it in her panicked retelling at Mama Joni, descended with unnerving grace. It landed a few feet away, its taloned feet scrambling on the asphalt. It tilted its head, those red eyes focusing on her with an unsettling intensity. Greetings, Earthling, the voice rasped, emanating from the creature. It sounded like gravel gargling battery acid. Lizzo, surprisingly fond of her voice. Well, ain't you a sight for sore eyes, she drawled, leaning back against that Peterbilt and taking another drag of her ciggy. Didn't expect no fancy dress parties out here. What's with the wings? Comic-Con was last week, honey. The flying humanoid didn't seem to understand the sarcasm. I require substance, it croaked. Specifically, the essence of human vitality. Lizzo raised an eyebrow, smoke curling around her face. Vitality? Huh. Honey, after a 10-hour shift and dealing with Earl's flatulence in the greasy spoon, I ain't exactly overflowing with vitality. You sure you got the right gal? The creature took a step closer, its shadow engulfing her. Your essence pulses with certain potence. Sorry. Lizzo considered this. She knew she had a certain something. Mama Joni always said she glue up. But that could blind a sailor. Maybe, just maybe, she could use this to her advantage. Okay, Mr. Fancy Pants, she said, flicking her cigarette butt onto the ground and grinding it out with her heel. I'm a businesswoman. Vitality don't come free. You got any cash or credits? The flying humanoid seemed confused. Credits? Cash? I pose knowledge, unimaginable knowledge of cosmos. Lizzo snorted. Cosmic knowledge ain't gonna pay my rent, honey. I need cold, hard cash. Or, maybe some rare space minerals. I hear they're good for the skin. The silence stretched, broken only by chirping of the crickets, which seemed to have picked up the tempo, as if anticipating a particularly juicy scene. Finally, the flying humanoid sighed, a sound like air leaking from a punctured tire. I have acquired certain artifacts from my travels. Perhaps a shimmering orb of pure energy would suffice. Lizzo's eyes widened. Shimmering orb of pure energy? Now you're talking. Is it like battery operated? Because my vibrator's been on the fritz. The flying humanoid seemed to short circuit. It blinked its red eyes, and a plume of smoke erupted from its nostrils. I require time to possess this transaction. With a frustrated flap of its wings, the flying humanoid launched back into the sky, disappearing into the inky blackness. Lizzo watched it go. A slow smile spread across her face. She pulled out another Newport cigarette and lit it. Well, Mildred, she muttered to herself, looks like you just landed yourself a new client, and maybe, just maybe, a real good vibrator. The crickets chirped their approval. The fluorescent lights buzzed a little louder, and Lizzo, the lot lizard of the last chance gas and grub, knew that even in the middle of nowhere, a girl could always find a way to make a living, even if her clientele was out of this world. And that was the last lot lizard story of the night. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Simone. It was not as good as the first two, but it was all right. I have a chilling experience to share with you. It started back in 1986 or 87, Pennsylvania bow season. I've been after a big buck all season, maybe 185 to 190 class buck, walking the creek bottom for some time in the hemlock, and it was getting dark in them. So I made it to a clearing about a half a mile or so. I saw a few deer, and a couple small bucks. Not what I was looking for. I was walking back to my truck next to a farm, and I had the feeling that something was not right. So I turned around and I thought, there's a bear there about 8 yards from me. I was standing along a cornfield, and it was in a cut of oat field. I had the wind in my face. That's when I knew something was in the field. This animal stood up and started to walk toward me. It was 35 to 40 yards from me now. I said aloud, "Do not make me use this bow." It stopped, turned around, and walked away from me. It looked like a large logger, and it walked in the cut oats field, then in the tall corn. I did not let the grass grow under my feet. The next day I went back to the spot where the cutout was. I could not walk in the tracks, and where it enters the core was 9 feet tall, so that made it about 8 feet tall, which would be a little smaller than the corn. When I got home, I told my wife. My wife was as white as a cloud, and her eyes were as big as plates. She said, "You'd seen a Bigfoot, honey." Coker, you won today? You won the Derby? Sovereignty. Why do I know that name? Dave Gravy 88. Thank you so much, my friend. Nice September. The witness was on a weekend canoeing trip for rest and relaxation in a remote area of Rough River State Park, Kentucky. The date, June 24th, 2003. He was strangely queasy and anxious for some unknown reason. For some unknown reason, he felt like he had something to fear. Heeding these sensations, he was extremely cautious on the river. After several miles, he paddled the canoe to the riverbank and tied off to a tree. He got out to explore the area. Looking 8 to 10 feet downstream, he spotted what looked like the top of a gray clay jar peeking out of the water. His first thoughts were that he might have found a native artifact. He started down the bank toward the creek, which was extremely slippery with the mud. He stopped just short of the water and very close to an old earthenware pot. It was more like clay crock, and he soon realized that it was probably not very old. He poked at it and noticed there were small handprints on it. He thought that could have been raccoon prints, but they were more like little human handprints about an inch wide. He tried to pry the thing loose using a stick and suddenly heard a noise. He heard what sounded like children laughing in the distance. The sound was coming from downstream. When he managed to pull up the crock jar out of the mud, something let out a scream. It sounded like a little girl, very high-pitched and loud. Not knowing what to do, he grabbed the jar and began to scramble up the muddy bank. Glancing, he thought he saw something move along the creek. He stopped and sat at the top of the bank for a moment, looking at the jar, trying to comprehend the handprints. After a few minutes, he laid the crock pot down, got up, and walked along the creek, stopping every once in a while to peek through the brush to see if anybody was there. At one point, he looked over the bank and he noticed 2 people, maybe standing a foot tall. They had pale skin and what looked like brown leather pants held up by suspenders, no shirt, with little pointed hats made out of what looked like leather. They had leather foot coverings that went past their ankles. Their hair was reddish in color, and their eyes seemed to be blue. Their hands were only about an inch wide, if that. They knew he was watching, but they continued their task of pulling some kind of wooden stump down the muddy creek bank with long leather rope and strings. These little men were surprisingly clean for the work they were doing. He then heard a thump back where he had first gone into the creek. He looked back, and there were 3 more of these little men, exactly like the first 2. They had pushed the crock jar back into the bank. They were laughing, high-pitched laughter, like a bunch of kids. He then heard a loud snap, and they were gone. Their footprints were plainly visible in the mud, but they were gone along with that jar and the wooden stump. They had just vanished in a split second. He walked around in an attempt to pick up the trail, but to no avail. He continued his trip with no other incident. Go, Wolf. Good night, Janie. What's up, Mr. Rollins? How are you? Hi, Strangeness. What's up? All right, this is going to be the last experience of the night because I am fucking drained right now. We've been on for 2 hours and 46 minutes, and here we go. I grew up in a town called Lima, Ohio, and this is my experience. For many years, the old-timers coming in from the middle rural areas south of Lima would talk about 3 sightings of the Ohio grassman. One of them I had spoken to as a teenager even claimed to have trapped one in his barn to prove that he wasn't crazy. He awoke to find the barn door in splinters in the field surrounding it. These are stories that first got me interested in cryptids of our area. But this is not about the grassman. Neither is it about the strange lights and stories that were featured in a film about my high school, Shawnee, in the Amazon Prime movie. There is a place southwest of Lima, a bridge, actually, that the locals refer to as the Coven Bridge, far from there in a farm area and not a lot of residents. Not many of the kids in this area knew about it because it is far out in the country. Legend was that this bridge was a meeting place for a group of people who practiced black magic. It was also said that they believed in lycanthropy. Damn it. Lycanthropy. I can't fucking say the word. Leave me alone. They were there to summon the power. At this place, the group of about 8 of us hopped onto the can on Friday night looking for the thrill. Not much to do in a small town. To shorten the experience, I'll tell you that shortly after arriving at this dank black water in the middle of nowhere, my friend and I decided that we could venture down to the underside of this very old metal-framed bridge. It was a full moon, and I know this sounds like a horror movie setup, but the moonlight reflected off the still water was the only way we noticed what we discovered under there. The old bridge was supported along the shallow banks by flat river rock, and from the moonlight, what appeared to be some dark oozing fluid running down the sides of the wall. When my friend lit his Zippo, we realized that it was not blood but candle wax. Some person had gone through the trouble of drilling out the rock in over a dozen places and inserting brass sleeves and to place candlesticks. This place had been used for quite some time based on the amount of wax for some ritualistic purpose, based on the drawings of the animals and symbols. A few months later in the summer, I took my mom there, as she is interested in seeing this type of things. Fast forward a short time later, in summer or fall, my mom was arriving home from work after dark. Where we lived in our quiet neighborhood, our backyard ended at the farmer's field for 50 acres or so. We lived in a pretty rural area ourselves. She drives her car up to the house and parks. Her headlights are shining on the closed garage door. She stated that she thought my dad was outside standing in front of the garage door until whatever it was stood up straight and was 7 feet tall, hunched with long arms, about like a dog. It looked directly at the car with the headlights shining on it, quickly hopped over the hood of her Buick, and ran across the field into the woods. She was very shaken by this ordeal. When she finally came into the house and was, as expected, visibly upset and crying, it took a while for my dad to calm her down. For decades after the incident, and even until she passed this year, she refused to talk about it. She said it upset her too much and she wanted to forget about it. Imagine pulling in your driveway and there's a Dogman standing at your fucking garage door. That is terrifying. I know how to say the word, Charles. It's my freaking implants. Outside in, how are you? Nick, what's up, buddy? All right. We'll end it with one more. We'll end it with this one. Here we go. Something happened to me early May of 2014 that I cannot explain. I live near Muskegon, Michigan, close to Lake Michigan shoreline. Over the past 2 years, several neighbors and ourselves have witnessed many weird lights above the lake. During the last week of April, there were several strings of red and white lights moving north above the lake. I noticed the lights twice on different nights. The man across the street contacted the UFO group, I believe MUFON. He told my son that he had also seen unusual people in his backyard from his bedroom window late one night. When he went out to confront them, they were gone. This happened just 2 days after he filed a UFO report online. On 2 consecutive nights, my son and I saw spotlights shining from the shore of the lake. There was a field, a narrow road, and a berm between our house and the lake. It looked like the spotlights may have been mounted on vehicles. On both nights, this occurred at around 11 p.m. and lasted for only a couple of minutes. A few days later, May 4th, at around 2 p.m., I was out in the backyard working my garden. A man dressed in black military garb entered through my back gate and walked toward me. I stopped what I was doing and waited for him to say something. He wore glasses that were tinted yellow, which stood out because everything else on him was black. He also wore a plain black cap with no insignia. When it got close, he looked directly at me without an expression and asked if I had noticed lights over the lake. I explained what we had seen and any other information I thought would help. He wrote everything down in a small little handbook, rarely saying a word other than anything else. When I finished, he asked if I had reported the sighting. I told him. The man across the street said he contacted the UFO group. Then asked, but did you contact anyone? I said no. Then I asked him what group he was with. He looked at me and said, thank you for your cooperation. That was very weird because I felt that there was something not right about this guy. I guess it was intuition, but I was creeped out. On Saturday, May 9th, at around 10:30 p.m., there were more lights coming from the lake shore side. This time I decided to walk over and see what was going on. My son, who was 17, came with me. He was just as curious as I. We walked through the yard, across the field, then over the berm of the shoreline. There were 5 black Land Rover-like vehicles 100 yards south from the shoreline. There were also a dozen or more men in black garb moving about. As soon as one of these guys noticed us, he shouted, there. They came running towards us. He had a 3-foot long light-colored baton with yellow light on the end. The 2 other men came running towards me as well. The men with the baton yelled, "You must leave at once. This is national security operation." My son asked who they were, but never received an answer to that question. One of the other men, who I believe was a superior, said, "You must leave this area immediately. Go back to your home. A representative will contact you in a day or two." We agreed and promptly left and went home. I have not been contacted by anyone since that night. My son and I went back to the shoreline and looked around, hoping that we could find something, help us understand what we had just seen and what happened there. There was nothing. I believe they may have discovered something of importance just by the way they reacted to us. Is there any way of finding out who these guys were and what they were up to? Men in Black, no. Just hope you never see them. All right, guys. We had been on here for almost 3 hours. I'm got to crash. I am fucking drained. Good night. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I will see you next Saturday. Simone SD. Mr. Schmier. Good night. Good night, Julie. Enormous. Evie. Widmore. Have a good night, buddy. Sonia. Taos. Sonia, teacher. All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you for a great night. I appreciate you. I hope you guys had a great time. And thank you. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. Good night, outside in. Jimmy, if you're here, have a good night. Call me or text me tomorrow, will you? Mr. Haunted. And with that, peace be with you all. Good night. Good night, Candy. Good night, Randall Kennedy, and thank you, my friend.